My son abandoned me on a desolate stretch of highway in a remote part of Arizona, declaring, "I don't need an extra mouth to feed in my home." I, an aging father who had nurtured him, cherished him, and supported him through thick and thin, stood beneath the blistering sun, yet not as a helpless victim. Upon returning to the house, he discovered my message taped to the refrigerator. After reading it, he dialed my number 52 times, gripped by sheer panic. But true justice was only starting to unfold, with a retribution he never saw coming. Before proceeding, kindly subscribe to this channel and share in the comments what time it is in your location right now. 45 years. 45 long years I devoted to raising him. And this is the repayment I receive. My calloused hands shook as I gazed at the inheritance papers scattered across my oak desk. The pen weighed heavily in my grasp, reluctant to approach the signature spot. Behind me, Eleanor's music box softly played our wedding tune, that cherished melody she adored so deeply. Even 3 years following her burial, I could not bear to let it wind down completely. 10:15 p.m. on August 4th, 2024. The home felt eerily silent, profoundly vacant, even with Harrison and his family resting upstairs. My kin, or whatever remained of it. I lifted Eleanor's photograph from the desk's edge. Her warm smile gazed back at me, captured eternally from our 45th anniversary celebration. She had donned that sapphire gown I gifted her, the one that mirrored her sparkling eyes. Her words resonated in my thoughts, vivid as if she sat beside me. Do not allow our son to exploit your kind spirit. Keaton. Folks reveal their genuine selves when they believe no one is observing. The faint aroma of aged timber blended with the subtle hint of her lingering scent in this space. I caressed the cool band of her wedding ring on my finger, the one I had worn without removal since her passing. Harrison had overlooked my 70th birthday 2 months prior, utterly forgotten. When I phoned him that night, he brushed it off with a chuckle. "Apologies. Dad, work has been overwhelming." Yet I had glimpsed his schedule on the counter, a tennis outing that very day. He recalled that perfectly well. And when those heart flutters struck me 4 weeks ago, it is likely just heartburn. Dad, you fret excessively, no suggestion to transport me to the physician, no authentic worry in his tone, merely annoyance at the interruption. I shut my eyes and recalled Eleanor's advice once more, uttered from her sickbed with her fading energy. Observe his behavior when he assumes he is gaining something. Keaton. That is when you will truly discern his character. The legal forms crinkled as I shoved them away. My chest constricted, each inhale more labored than before. Through the glass pane, I spotted Harrison's vehicle in the driveway, a Mercedes he mysteriously afforded while requesting me to handle the food expenses. Perhaps it is time to witness Harrison's authentic self. I rose gradually, my joints aching after prolonged sitting. The estate documents returned to the drawer, unsigned. The house keys felt burdensome in my palm as I approached the window, observing the shadows sway over the garden Eleanor had treasured dearly. A trial. That is what Eleanor would have desired. A method to confirm without doubt what sort of individual my son truly is. Come morning, I will uncover the real nature of my son. The eggs crackled in the iron skillet as dawn light poured through the kitchen pane. 8:00 a.m., August 6th. And I had been alert since 6, practicing the phrases in my mind. The circular morning table remained as it had for 4 years. Harrison at the lead, Madison to his side, the youngsters opposite one another. My position at the distant end, where I could study every expression. Harrison filled his mug with coffee. Already scanning his device for office messages, the children squabbled over the final slice of pancake, while Madison spread jam with robotic accuracy. Ordinary. All perfectly ordinary. I cleared my voice and placed down my cup. I received a notification last night from the factory. Harrison glanced up from his screen. Brows lifted. Madison's motion halted midway. Olivia and Noah continued munching, unaware of the mounting strain. They are releasing me. Cost reductions after 30 years. The quiet lingered precisely 5 seconds. I tallied them. Noted Harrison's expression shift from astonishment to scheming, then to something sterner, icier. "What does that imply?" Grandpa Olivia inquired, her 13-year-old tone slicing the unease. "It means my earnings will be scarce now. Dear, my retirement fund will barely manage essentials." Noah kept shoveling oatmeal, utterly disinterested in grown-up issues. But Harrison edged his seat back a bit. Establishing separation. I observed it occur. The bodily withdrawal. "Dad, I cannot manage to sustain additional folks currently." His words held that identical frustration I had heard during my heart episode. I have my own household to consider, my own duties. My fingers clenched around my mug. The porcelain burned against my skin, nearly scalding, but I held firm. Madison agreed swiftly, supporting him as usual. "Harrison is correct. Keaton, we are scarcely handling our own costs as is. The kids have tuition, activity gear." "Is Grandpa going to be fine?" Olivia's words trembled with sincere worry. "He will sort it out," Harrison dismissed, already refocusing on his device. "There are initiatives for elders. Aid possibilities. Initiatives. Aid possibilities." As if I were some outsider rather than the man who reared him, nourished him, financed his education. The detached computation in his speech struck me more fiercely than Eleanor's departure had. At least with her. I anticipated the end. This resembled a betrayal by someone I trusted utterly. "Well," I stated deliberately, retreating from the table, "I must ponder this. You will recover swiftly, Dad." Harrison's focus was back on his correspondence. "You always do." I stood unhurriedly, sensing every one of my 70 years in my frame. The kitchen abruptly seemed alien, despite sharing meals at this table for 4 decades. Even the dawn glow appeared altered, brighter, exposing too much. "I believe I will relax for a bit." I shut the chamber door behind me and rested against it, shoulders drooping under the burden of what had transpired. 8:30 a.m. And the day already seemed intolerable. My pulse raced against my chest, not from ascending the steps, but from the stark revelation of my son's true essence exposed. The primary bedroom appeared identical since Eleanor's death. Her side of the mattress still pristine, cushion plumped as she preferred, her dresser displaying the same fragrance vials, the same comb with strands of silver hair entwined in the teeth. Her ring holder stood vacant. I now wore her band alongside mine. 4 years. 4 years I have convinced myself it was provisional. I approached the bureau and grasped our marriage picture. Eleanor's youthful visage beamed back, luminous in ivory silk, adjacent to it. Harrison's diploma photo from 25 years past. He had been so triumphant that day, so appreciative. "Thanks for all, Dad. I will honor you." The sarcasm seared in my torso. I collapsed onto the bed's rim, clutching Eleanor's image with both hands. Through the pain, I viewed Harrison's Mercedes shining in the driveway, the automobile he acquired 7 months after relocating temporarily. When had I ceased questioning that? The relocation dialogue replayed in my recollection like a faulty tape. 4 years ago, right in this residence, Harrison had positioned in our kitchen, Madison next to him, both appearing frantic and thankful. Just until we stabilize. Dad, 7 months maximum. We will chip in for bills and provisions. And me, naive and isolated after Eleanor's initial cardiac event. Take whatever duration you require. Eleanor always yearned for a lively home. But Eleanor had perceived the truth before I did. I recalled her perched right here on this mattress 3 years ago, concern furrowing her brow. They are becoming overly settled. Keaton, when did you last witness Harrison hunting for properties he is laboring diligently? Eleanor, saving for a deposit demands time. She had grasped my hand then, her digits still tepid despite the ailment. Folks display their authentic selves when they think no one observes. Recall that. I dismissed her worries as illness speaking. But Eleanor had been vigilant. She had noticed Harrison's inputs shrink from $300 monthly to $75. Then to reimburse next month once the advancement arrives. She had observed him purchase the Mercedes while asserting he could not assist with provisions. She had spotted Madison's lavish outings while claiming hardship. When did I transform into the load in my own dwelling? The utilities had quadrupled. The food costs tripled. Deterioration on all from the dryer to the boiler. And me excusing why they could not donate more. Why they could not secure their own space. Why all was perpetually my obligation. I held Eleanor's photo to my heart, longing to seek her pardon for my blindness. Below, I detected the hum of voices, Harrison and Madison conversing in hushed, pressing pitches. What are they debating down there? I arose, intrigue surpassing my weariness, and advanced toward the entrance to eavesdrop. The subdued tones from downstairs pierced my sorrow like a blade through quiet. I positioned Eleanor's photo back on the bureau, my hands quivering with more than grief now. 10:45 in the evening, and Harrison and Madison were conducting one of their kitchen meetings, the type they assumed I could not detect. My chamber door squeaked as I eased it open. The aged hinges I had intended to lubricate for weeks, but tonight their complaints resounded like thunder. I halted, attentive. Their voices persisted below, insistent yet restrained. Whatever they discussed, they did not wish the youngsters to overhear. The corridor extended ahead, illuminated solely by the lamplight seeping through the far window. Each stair descent demanded cautious footing. I knew which planks groaned and which remained mute. After 35 years in this abode, every noise was etched in my memory. At the staircase base, I beheld the kitchen threshold aglow with cozy illumination. The washer hummed its routine cycle, offering ideal concealment for their talk. I flattened against the wall just beyond the entry and listened. This excursion concept is ideal, Harrison was stating, his tone bearing that same plotting inflection I had heard at breakfast. We will travel through those arid regions in Arizona. Plenty of vacant terrain out there. My heart pounded against my ribs. I groped for my device, almost letting it slip in my rush. The display illuminated, indicating 72% power. My broad fingers wrestled with the interface. Video capture initiated first, the lens aimed at my ceiling. And if anything befalls him out there, Madison's voice was frigid, straightforward. Well, elderly folks become disoriented. They stray away. Sunstroke. Thirst. It occurs frequently. I succeeded in switching to audio capture just as Harrison replied. Precisely. We will hunt for a spell. Notify the officials. act the distressed relatives. He simply departed from our campsite. We scoured all over. The device shook in my hold. 4 years of benevolence. 4 years of welcoming doors and communal dinners. And this was their appreciation. Without him, the property transfers to us instantly. Madison proceeded. We can cease feigning interest in his tales, his demands, his perpetual existence. 4 years of portraying the thankful offspring. Harrison concurred. I am finished with it. This estate matter drove me beyond tolerance. I cannot continue upholding useless burden. Chilly perspiration erupted on my brow despite the warm season. My limbs weakened, but I maintained the device firm, capturing every venomous phrase. Eleanor's words echoed in my thoughts. Folks reveal their genuine selves when they believe no one observes. The elegance is it resolves all, Madison declared. No further food charges, service fees, health costs. Just us and our true kin and a residence we can ultimately vend. Harrison appended. Erase our obligations. Begin anew elsewhere. I had absorbed sufficient, more than ample. My device displayed a capture of 4 minutes and 12 seconds. Enough to ruin them both. Retreating as silently as I had descended. I ascended back to my chamber, clutching the banister for steadiness. Back on my bed's edge, I stared at the device screen. The capture files rested there like a primed armament, awaiting deployment. But not immediately. They sought to toy with an elder's existence. Well, Eleanor, it appears you were accurate about folks exposing their true selves. Vapor ascended from my coffee vessel as I mixed it leisurely, observing Harrison squirm with his device across the morning table. 8:15 in the morning, August 7th, and I had endured a restless night devising every aspect of my counter. The kitchen now seemed unlike home, more like a platform where we would all enact our roles. Harrison repeatedly eyed Madison, seeking reassurance for whatever dialogue they had practiced. She inclined her head and grinned at fitting instance, embodying the aiding spouse. The youngsters consumed their oatmeal, blissfully oblivious that their parents had spent the prior evening scheming homicide. "How was your rest?" Dad Harrison queried, his words coated with phony solicitude. "You appeared quite fatigued yesterday." I savored a gradual sip of coffee, gaining moments to compose my face into something suitably subdued. "Poorly, son. This entire ordeal has me anxious beyond measure." "Ideal." I could nearly perceive the alleviation in their gazes. Madison leaned ahead with rehearsed compassion. "Such matters tend to resolve. Keaton, kin always navigates tough periods." On the topic of kin, Harrison interjected, his pacing executed flawlessly. "I have reflected on yesterday. On my words, I was overly severe." My device rested beside my coffee vessel, audio note already active. Permit them to excavate their own pits with utterances. I value that, son. These weary bones felt rather defeated. Harrison shared another glance with Madison before advancing. "What if we embarked on a family outing, something to unite us all, mend these rifts among us?" Olivia lifted her gaze from her oatmeal, abruptly engaged. "An outing whereto I considered Yellowstone," Harrison suggested, embracing his act. "Recall when Mom and I escorted you there as a child. Dad, you always claimed it was among your dearest recollections." The reference to Eleanor in this setting nearly shattered my poise. They were exploiting her memory to rationalize their scheme to end me. But I compelled my tone to stay even. Even thankful. That sounds marvelous. "Harrison, when did you envision?" "Next week." He was building assurance now, likely assuming his deception succeeded. "I can secure leave from employment. Turn it into a genuine escapade for everyone. Noah jiggled in his seat. Can we spot actual rangers? Grandpa. We will witness all sorts of wondrous sights. Noah, I responded, tousling his locks. Within, fury smoldered cold and constant. But my words remained affectionate for the youngsters. Madison chimed in with her ready zeal. It would benefit us all. The children adore journeying with their grandfather, and it would provide time to converse truly. Resolve all. The journey itself could be scenic. Harrison supplemented. We could follow the picturesque path through Arizona, view some of that renowned arid scenery. There it was, the arid land, the barren spots where elders vanish. How extensive a drive would that be, I inquired, performing my role in their lethal drama. Oh, 9 or 10 hours, Harrison remarked nonchalantly. But we would proceed leisurely. Halt whenever you require repose. Halt whenever they needed to desert me. More probable. I permitted a grin to traverse my face. The first authentic one I had experienced since this horror commenced. That sounds utterly ideal. Son. I believe Eleanor would have cherished the notion of us all undertaking this journey together. Madison nearly radiated with contentment. Should we aim for next Friday, allow us time to organize? August 17th. I consented. I will need to arrange some preparations for our voyage. Morning warmth already wavered off the pavement as I observed Harrison stow the final bag into the SUV's storage. 7:30 a.m. August 17th. And the structured turmoil of family exit concealed the fatal contest we were all engaging. Olivia and Noah dashed between residence and vehicle, grasping overlooked gadgets and beloved plush toys. The previous week had been a triumph of readiness. While Harrison explored arid paths and Madison scheduled meal halts, I had performed my own investigation. Jack Reynolds, a hauler I had reached via web communities, would be at the Arid Haven Depot outside Phoenix. My endurance provisions were concealed under clothing layers in my satchel. Most crucially, my safeguard awaited in the kitchen. Olivia, Noah, do you possess your gadgets for the ride? Madison summoned, marking off her internal roster. Got them. Mom. Olivia brandished her gadget while Noah battled his knapsack fastener. Harrison mopped sweat from his brow despite the early time. Dad, certain you have all. It is a lengthy voyage, and we will not pause much once we reach the arid zone. The irony did not escape me. Just need to fetch my spectacles, I declared, tapping my shirt pouch dramatically. Will not take long. I re-entered the residence with relaxed resolve. The kitchen seemed vacant, expectant, behind the refrigerator, secured by Eleanor's preferred blossom magnet. I affixed the message I had composed and revised 15 times. I overheard your discussion on August 6th about resolving the dad issue during this voyage. Every utterance is captured on my device and duplicated. If I do not return securely within 36 hours, my attorney obtains duplicates with directives to alert officials. I am aware of your liabilities, Harrison, and your intentions. Decide prudently. Dad. Ideal positioning. They would uncover it upon returning to bundle my items, likely within moments of forsaking me. The schedule would generate utmost alarm. Are we truly heading to Yellowstone? Grandpa Noah asked as I rejoined them at the vehicle. We are going to behold some astonishing views. Noah, I replied, ascending into the rear seat behind the children's area. Things that will astonish all. The SUVs inside scented of fresh hide and Madison's lavender refresher. Harrison calibrated his mirrors and verified the navigation once more. 9 hours and 42 minutes to their endpoint, per the display. The fuel reservoir indicated fully loaded. They had contemplated all for their flawless offense. Everyone at ease, Harrison inquired, his tone laced with compelled enthusiasm. "Prepared for our quest," Madison added, pivoting to beam at us. I nestled back in my place, sensing the mass of the concealed hydration containers and nutrition bars in my baggage nearby. My device displayed full power, and the reserve energy unit was stowed securely in my coat pouch. Jack Reynolds' details were committed to memory and inscribed on parchment, concealed in my billfold. The SUV departed from the curb, and I took a final glance at the residence Eleanor and I had deemed home for 45 years. In a few hours, Harrison and Madison would implement their scheme, but they were unaware that their prey had evolved into the pursuer. The roadway extended forward, arid warmth already glistening afar. Timeless tunes murmured from the audio as farmland yielded to tan undergrowth and remote buttes. 1:45 in the afternoon, and we had been traveling for 6.5 hours through Kansas across Colorado, and now into the boundless spread of Arizona. The cooling system labored extra against the escalating external heat. "Grandpa, recount when you constructed that fort for Dad." Noah jounced in his central seat. Gadget overlooked momentarily. I grinned, monitoring Harrison's gaze in the rear mirror. "Your father was roughly your age, always eager to scale higher than prudent. We invested 4 weekends on that endeavor." "Dad was skilled with instruments," Olivia queried, truly astonished. "The finest small assistant I ever possessed," I affirmed, recollecting grime-marked palms and keen inquiries about each hammer and screw. "He could pass me the correct tool before I requested." Harrison fidgeted uneasily. "That was ages ago." "Dad, for hours, this had been the routine. Authentic family reminiscences, children's glee, Harrison enacting the dedicated offspring. 'You comfortable there? Need me to tweak the cooling?' he had asked thrice. 'Want to halt for a break every 20 minutes. Some minor act of attentiveness. Perhaps I was mistaken. Maybe the prior day was merely tension speaking, dread rendering me suspicious. But then I would catch those swift exchanges between Harrison and Madison when they thought I was not observing. The manner she inspected the navigation compulsively, jotting on a tiny pad, the rising strain in Harrison's frame as the terrain grew more isolated. "Are we nearly there?" Olivia complained. "This is endless. Just a couple more hours, darling," Madison responded, her tone strained with artificial joy. "Grandpa's delight. Remember through the pain." I watched distance markers zip by. The freeway had transitioned to Interstate 40, and habitation was dispersing markedly. Fuel depots emerged perhaps every 40 miles now. The youngsters had quieted, fatigued by warmth and voyage weariness. My device showed 0 signal indicators. We were entering the signal void I had studied, where towers were rare and assistance hours distant. "This land is certainly barren," I noted, maintaining my tone relaxed. "That is the allure of it." Harrison answered, "Untamed wilderness. A person could vanish here and remain unfound." The phrases chilled me like frozen liquid in my blood. All uncertainties dissolved instantly. Madison gave him a piercing stare. But the harm was inflicted. I met his gaze in the mirror once more, and this time I perceived the scheming there, the frigid evaluation of a hunter gauging his target. Distance marker 258 emerged ahead. Harrison decelerated the SUV. "I truly need to relieve myself," I announced, my voice firm despite my racing pulse. "Cannot delay further." "Certainly." "Dad." Harrison maneuvered to the roadside with skilled simplicity. "Take your leisure." I exited into the scorching warmth, feeling moisture instantly form on my brow. The youngsters were already disputing something, their tones muffled through sealed panes. Harrison emerged too, supposedly to extend his limbs, but he lingered near the driver's portal, motor active. "Thanks for this voyage, son," I expressed, gazing straight at him. "It signifies all to an elder." Something flashed across his countenance. Perhaps remorse. Perhaps mere restlessness. Nothing individual. "Dad," he murmured softly. "Just enterprise." The motor revved. Pebbles scattered from the wheels. Olivia and Noah flattened their faces against the rear pane, bewilderment shifting to sorrow as they beheld their grandfather solitary on the vacant roadway. The SUV faded into warmth distortion, leaving only hush and the pitiless midday sun. "Well, Eleanor, time to determine if your aged spouse absorbed your teachings on readiness." Warmth emanated from the pavement in visible surges as I surveyed the vacant roadway where my kin had evaporated. 2 o'clock in the afternoon, temperature ascending toward its daily summit. Moisture already saturated my garment, but my respiration remained regulated, systematic. 45 years on assembly lines had instructed me on laboring in harsh environments. First priorities. I extracted my device, verifying what I knew. No signal indicators. The display showed 94% power, abundant for my needs. My investigation had been precise. This segment of Interstate 40 resided in a coverage gap between towers. Visual assessment next. Butte shapes ascended afar like ancient relics. Sparse vegetation dotted the vista, providing scant cover. No structures in sight anyway. Traffic infrequent. Perhaps one automobile every 25 minutes. Ideal spot for a slaying if you ignored your victim's week of preparation. I unfastened my jacket and accessed the custom-stitched internal compartments. 3 20-ounce hydration vessels still chilled from the vehicle's cooling. From my trouser compartments emerged 5 nutrition bars and a modest sack of nut blend, sufficient sustenance for an extended trek. The hand-sketched chart surfaced from my billfold, borders strengthened with adhesive. Arid Haven Fuel Depot 7 miles east along Interstate 40. I had memorized the path, but viewing it on parchment provided solace. Jack Reynolds' details were inscribed on resilient parchment. Tucked behind my license, 7 miles to Arid Haven, I uttered aloud, my words engulfed by the immense quiet. Jack mentioned he would be there this week. Harrison assumed he had deserted a defenseless elder to perish. Poor lad, unaware his father had prepared for the direst while aspiring for the finest. Eleanor's cherished adage, she instructed me to anticipate 3 steps forward, whether repairing a faulty apparatus or handling flawed individuals. I adjusted my hat and fastened my shades. The robust trekking footwear I selected expressly for this voyage gripped the pavement firmly. My breathable top would aid ventilation, and the trousers shielded my limbs from solar harm. The crisis funds were allocated across various concealments. 330s in my right shoe, 200s creased into my strap, 60s in my billfold. If I reached society, I would possess choices. The vehicle's heat gauge had indicated 102 degrees when they forsaken me. By late afternoon, it would crest around 110. I would need to regulate my speed meticulously, preserve vitality and liquid. Tiny gulps every 20 minutes. Not chugging. Repose in any accessible shadow. Plant safety instruction had addressed heat depletion. I recognized the alerts. Lightheadedness, queasiness, extreme tiredness. But I also knew my resilience. Decades of 12-hour stints on cement floors had forged leg power most men my age missed. My device indicated the hour, 2:10 p.m. I stowed the chart in my garment compartment, took one tiny gulp of liquid, and oriented east toward my goal. The arid land extended infinitely ahead, glistening with thermal illusions that formed false oases on the skyline. Afar, I could detect the thunder of cargo haulers on a concurrent path. Society still persisted. Just past instant grasp, 7 miles, in this warmth. Perhaps 2.5 hours if I regulate correctly. Cadence. That is what maintained a man through arduous labor, discovering the proper tempo and sustaining it constant. 35 minutes into my eastward march, my feet had established their rhythm on the hot pavement. Left, right, inhale, left, right, inhale. The arid sun pounded down, but moisture vaporized swiftly in the parched atmosphere. Mile 1 elapsed with recollections of 9-year-old Harrison, soil smeared and inquisitive, positioned beside me in the shed. Dad, how does the motor propel the vehicle? Broad eyes soaking every clarification about cylinders and ignition. His tiny palms keen to grasp instruments, to assist, to absorb from the man he deemed his idol. You are the wisest dad globally, he had proclaimed after I mended his cycle chain. Eleanor had chuckled from the threshold, powder on her smock from weekend cooking. Your father comprehends how to restore damaged items, she informed him. That is a talent. Initial liquid pause at mile 2. Tiny gulp, lid secured firmly. Vessel returned to compartment. The fluid was tepid now, but still revitalizing. A hauler thundered past, operator too intent on his timetable to notice a solitary walker on the margin. Adolescent Harrison had altered, ashamed when peers inquired about my occupation. Must you inform all you labor at the mill, he had grumbled after an academy occasion. Secondary school introduced fresh companions, university goals, disgrace regarding manual origins. The inquiries ceased. The shed became a locale he evaded. Mile 3 delivered shade from a roadway indicator. 40 seconds of respite from the unyielding sun. My garment adhered to my back, but respiration stayed constant. Heat depletion had not affected me yet. Solid fitness from a lifetime of manual toil. University had expanded the divide. Home visits brimming with discourses on contemporary finance and aspiring larger. Dad, you do not grasp how the world functions now. He would elucidate, recent from commerce lectures. Meanwhile, my mill wages funded his schooling, his aspirations, his increasing disdain for the man who enabled it all. Union to Madison cemented the change. Abruptly, my narratives became disruptions, my attendance a humiliation, kin suppers abbreviated to mandatory showings. When will you begin behaving your years? He had questioned last holiday, irritated by my efforts to involve his offspring. Mile 4 challenged my stamina. Thermal mirages crafted imaginary ponds ahead, arid deceptions that vowed relief, but supplied only more blistering void. I modified my tempo marginally, saving vigor. The Arid Haven depot was not visible yet, but my chart indicated 3 miles left. Eleanor's concluding months had unveiled Harrison at his lowest, impatient with her remedy timetables, aggravated by her frailty, anxious for the legacy talks to commence. I had watched him tally currency symbols while his mother labored for air. He is not the lad you nurtured, she had murmured one night when Harrison departed early from visitation. That lad perished somewhere en route. This one merely dons his visage. Mile 5 presented the initial sight of society, a dim edifice glistening afar. My device showed one indicator of signal reappearing as I neared the coverage zone. They would be finding my message soon, if not already. When did I become the shame rather than the mentor? When did 45 years of sincere labor become something to conceal from acquaintances? I had devoted my profession to mending faulty apparatuses, trusting I could mend fractured bonds too. But some harm penetrated too profoundly for fix. The Arid Haven depot enlarged with each stride, tangible and firm against the fluctuating warmth. My device beeped with restoring signal potency. 3 indicators now, sufficient for communications. I accelerated my tempo slightly. Expectation mounting. Eleanor always said I possessed the endurance to surpass any dilemma. Today, I would test that notion against arid warmth and kin treachery. 3 indicators of signal. They will be contacting soon. The instant I entered the Arid Haven depot, my device exploded like an electronic quake. Vibration after vibration after vibration. The display igniting with alert after alert. The welcome coolness of conditioning struck my drenched garment as I gazed at the mayhem unfolding on my device. 52 overlooked calls, all from Harrison. Each alert resembled a minor triumph. The log narrated the tale of escalating despair. Initial call at 3:15 p.m. Immediately after, they would have noticed my lack. Then every several minutes, quicker and quicker, as terror gripped. Messages from Madison interspersed amid the calls. Contact us immediately, and where are you? An urgency. 17 voice messages awaited like tiny bundles of dread. I switched the device to mute and slid it into my compartment. Allow them to perspire a bit longer. You appear as if you have been trekking in this warmth, remarked the attendant behind the counter. A middle-aged lady with compassionate eyes and silvering locks. Her tag read, Maria. All fine vehicle issue back on the roadway, I responded, which was not wholly false. Is the inn still available for registration? Of course. Dear. Need me to summon anyone for aid relatives? Perhaps. I nearly chuckled. No. Thanks. I have all managed. While Maria handled my inn enrollment, I permitted myself to hear the initial voice message. Harrison's tone taut with compelled composure. Dad, where are you? We halted for fuel, and upon return, you were absent. We are scouring the vicinity. Please respond. Voice message 17 displayed fractures in the pretense. Please, Dad, just respond. We are anxious terribly. Where could you have ventured by voice message 35? The disguise had entirely faltered. I located your message. We must discuss. This is all a misinterpretation. You misunderstand what you overheard. The message. My safeguard composed in meticulous capital letters and concealed behind Eleanor's blossom magnet, where they would find it upon returning to gather my possessions. I overheard your discussion on August 6th about resolving the dad issue during this voyage. Every utterance is captured on my device and duplicated. If I do not return securely within 36 hours, my attorney obtains duplicates with directives to alert officials. I am aware of your liabilities, Harrison, and your intentions. Decide prudently, Dad. I had invested hours fashioning those phrases, rendering them precise enough to terrify, but ambiguous enough to preserve my edge. Maria presented me the chamber key. Suite 8 just along the path. Ice dispenser at the terminus. And there is a eatery adjacent if you are famished. I acquired chilled liquid, replenishment beverages, and a fresh garment from the depot's convenience area. My device vibrated again. Call 53. I disregarded it with increasing contentment. The inn chamber was simple but tidy, with a mattress that seemed divine after my arid trek. I connected my device to the power source and observed it vibrate again with incoming call 54. Through the pane, I could view the hauler parking zone where Jack Reynolds would arrive tomorrow dawn. 52 calls in 3 hours. Eleanor would be proud of my calculations and my strategy. Jack said he would be here tonight. Tomorrow we proceed home. Vapor ascended from my coffee vessel as I surveyed the parking area through the eatery pane. 8:15 in the morning, August 18th, and precisely on timetable. A red Kenworth heavy hauler rumbled into the Arid Haven lot, Air stops hissed as Jack Reynolds guided the large vehicle to a fluid halt. I had rested better than in months. Amusing how tranquility functions. Jack descended from the cockpit with the effortless assurance of a man who had navigated roadways for 30 years. 57 years old. Rugged countenance. Compassionate eyes behind thin-framed lenses. He noticed me through the pane and lifted his hand in salutation. Precisely punctual, he remarked as he entered the eatery. Hope you obtained some repose after your trial. Finest slumber I have had in months, I answered, rising to clasp his roughened hand. I cannot express enough gratitude for this. Not all would assist a unknown. Jack dismissed my thanks. The highway instructs you whom to trust. You have truthful eyes. Keaton. Denver is about 9 hours with my shipment timetable. Ideal timing. Within 25 minutes, my sparse possessions were fastened in the hauler's rest area, and I was settled into the cozy companion seat. Jack had readied a container of coffee and crafted sandwiches for the trip. The communication radio crackled sporadically with hauler exchanges, and folk melodies played gently from the sound system. Families are meant to bolster one another, not exploit one another, Jack commented as we joined onto Interstate 70 East. He had posed no direct inquiries about my circumstance, but I had disclosed the essentials: vehicle malfunction, kin conflicts, requiring transport home. That is what I always trusted, I stated, watching Arizona arid yield to Utah plateaus. 45 years nurturing a son, and I thought I comprehended what man he had become. Jack inclined his head, comprehension in his gaze. I have 3 kids myself, separated 17 years now, but my former and I always prioritized the youngsters. Cannot envision bloodkin betraying each other. The distances rolled by with effortless dialogue. Jack shared highway tales, generosities from unknowns, the fellowship among distance drivers, the fulfillment of sincere labor. I found myself recounting memories of Eleanor, cautiously modified accounts of recent occurrences, thoughts on how principles appeared to have shifted across eras. Your spouse sounds like she was a sage woman, Jack remarked after I cited one of Eleanor's beloved adages about folks revealing their true selves. She perceived through individuals like they were transparent. I concurred. I should have heeded her cautions earlier. The hauler's soothing cadence, the consistent conversation, and Jack's authentic decency forged a restorative realm. Here was an unknown displaying more thoughtfulness than my own son had mustered in years. The disparity was not overlooked. We halted twice at hauler depots for fuel and required pauses. Jack demanded on purchasing midday meal, declining my proposals to compensate. You will do likewise for another someday, he stated plainly. As afternoon transitioned to dusk, familiar markers began emerging. The landmark bridge visible from my district appeared as we neared Denver's fringes. Home, where a settlement awaited. That is my departure approaching. I indicated, gesturing forward. Home sweet home. Jack's hauler vanished around the bend as I advanced up my familiar drive. 7:30 in the evening, and shadows elongated across the grass I had tended for decades. Every pane blazed with illumination. They were home anticipating, vigilant for any update on the vanished grandfather. My key rotated in the lock I had fitted 25 years ago. The entry portal swung ajar. Dad. Harrison leapt from the parlor sofa like he had been shocked. Thank heavens you are secure. We have been hunting for hours. Madison materialized beside him, her expression a triumph of fabricated relief. We have no notion what occurred. One instant you were present. The next you had disappeared. We have been concerned terribly. Olivia and Noah rushed to me with true delight, encircling their arms around my midsection. Their happiness was genuine. Innocent youngsters ensnared in their parents' net of deceptions. 52 device calls indicate you were not hunting, I stated calmly, reciprocating the youngsters' embraces. You were frantic. Harrison's countenance flickered with perplexity before reverting to his act. We contacted because we were desperate to locate you. Dad, you are muddled. We would never. The message on the refrigerator clarifies all, I interjected. Did you assume I had forgotten literacy? The hue drained from Madison's face. She glanced toward the kitchen, then back at me with plotting eyes. We have no clue what you imply. We have been traversing that roadway repeatedly for hours. I extracted my device and located the capture from August 6th. Harrison's voice permeated the space. This excursion concept is ideal. We will travel through those arid regions in Arizona. Then Madison's frigid computation. And if anything befalls him out there, well, elderly folks become disoriented. They stray away. Olivia retreated. Confusion supplanting joy. Noah looked between his parents and me, detecting strain he could not comprehend. I possess captures. Harrison, your tones, your scheme, your avarice. I halted the replay and gazed directly at my son. Every phrase about resolving the dad issue and inheriting this residence. Harrison made one final desperate bid at deception. Dad, kin pardons. We can navigate this. Consider Olivia and Noah. They require their grandfather. You ceased being my son when you schemed to slay me, I murmured softly. You have 90 minutes to gather your items and depart eternally. Madison's disguise finally collapsed utterly. You cannot evict us. We possess legal entitlements. We have resided here for 4 years. As my visitors who schemed to slay their host, I elevated my device again. My attorney receives duplicates of all if I do not report daily. Attempt to bother me, and you will learn how gravely the officials regard senior mistreatment and attempted slaying. The subsequent 90 minutes transpired in hectic bundling and subdued disputes. Olivia wept gently while aiding to collect her belongings. I knelt beside her and Noah. You can visit when you are more mature. I informed them tenderly. This concerns decisions your parents made. Not you. Vehicle portals slammed. Motors ignited. Rear lights faded into Denver dusk. I stood solitary in my kitchen, gazing at the vacant refrigerator where my caution message had been affixed. Eleanor's cherished cup rested on the surface, awaiting evening brew. I filled it with hot liquid and sat at our table for 2, now arranged for 1, tomorrow. I will contact the attorney regardless. Some teachings need to endure. As the dust settled in Denver twilight, Keaton sat quietly, reflecting on the lessons learned from betrayal and resilience. Tomorrow would bring new beginnings, fortified by Eleanor's enduring wisdom. What did you think of this story? Share your impressions in the comments below. Did Keaton's revenge surprise you? Or perhaps you have questions about family dynamics like these. Drop your thoughts, ask away, and let's discuss together. Your interactions keep this channel alive and engaging. For the next captivating tale, simply click the box on the left. Thank you so much for watching. We appreciate every view and comment.